Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creative Nectar podcast. I am your co host, Jenny Hahn,
And I'm Stephanie Gray.
and we both welcome you all. Welcome back or welcome for your first time. We are going to have a discussion today around the idea, the question of are we all creative? Are we all creative? And we could give a short answer to that, which is yes.
Hell
End of
yes.
show. See you all next time.
And scene.
But today we want to get into a conversation and really dive into this deeper, because we could say things like, yes, we are all creative, and many people say this and know this to be true. And yet, why are there so many of us then who don't think we're creative? Steph and I both have heard this phrase so many times we can't even count it, that I don't have a creative bone in my body. I can't draw a straight line. I can't draw a stick figure. So therefore, I'm not creative.
The one I just need to interject one thing I heard a lot was my sibling, my sister, my brother got the creativity
Yes. Yes, they
and
got the
I don't have
creative
it.
gene.
Yeah.
Right, right. Or my aunt was creative, or my grandma, or yeah, on and on and on. We hear this so much, and this is part of why we do what we do. We create, of course, for ourselves, but this is why we hold space and community for others, because most of the people that we've worked with over the years don't identify as artists, don't identify as creative even. And yet we know this, that we are all creative beings, and we've witnessed so many times we can't even name that moment when the shift happens, because it usually starts as a belief that I'm not creative. The person speaking for themselves, I'm not creative. And yet there's this moment, when the mind lets go, when the stories go away, and when there's a shift, and you can see it in the eyes, you can see it in the energy. And Steph, you look like you were about to say something. Do you have a
No, just
a moment about that?
I did have a second that just said, and ironically, usually that shift happens when we have at least engaged ourselves in that creative process enough to drop us into more of that space that we talk about here so often, which is that space of the heart that, with more intention, more mindfulness. And I don't, yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't have anything specifically, but you probably saw that moment where it went click.
I saw the click, yeah. On our video here. Well, and really, to me, I think this gets down to a matter of redefining how we define creativity, how we define a creative person. Because me, I love to look up whatever we're talking about for the day. I love to look up the definition in the good old dictionary, and and the definition that I found of creative is relating to or involving the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. That was one of the definitions of creative, the first one. And yet we we equate that with, typically, with art making, right? In our culture, in our world, for whatever reason, we equate that originality, that imagination, with art making. But it's so much bigger than that, is it not?
It is way bigger than that. It is our inherent like birthright. We have that creative spark within us. We are creators. And
Yes.
I mean, to deny that is to deny a little piece of ourselves, that really potent, special piece, I believe. And, I think, like you were saying, to sort of define what creativity is, and I love that definition. And it can even be boiled down to as simply as, oh, I want to wear red today. and you go into your closet and you pick a red outfit out because that's your imagination was like, oh, red outfit, and it sparked that
Right.
intentional creative flow. And so you said yes to it. It's that simple.
Right.
Or of, making a batch of cookies from scratch, or, rearranging the furniture in your bedroom just because you've you've thought, oh, wow, what would happen if, turning on that
Yes.
curiosity dial, like we talk about a lot on here, is like getting curious about it. I mean,
Yes.
and if I may, just for my own self, like before really diving into the creative process with process art, I was still a creative kid. Growing up, I did sing and I was in choir and things, but not as far as like making those mindful decisions, those mindful, mm, interesting, curiosity fed decisions. Like that came after I
Mm.
started doing process art and the visual arts and the writing. Um, and because I see how it is so easy to allow that part of us, because it happened to me as well, to go offline. Like,
Right.
there's so many options in the grocery store to have a meal completely prepared. All you do is stick it in the oven and it's done. But the creativity has been zapped from that. Same with the mass-produced arts. So we can go grab something at a big box store to put on our walls rather than, oh, maybe I could just make something. Or, so
Mm.
it's just, it struck me today as I was sort of preparing for this, about how the creativity has sort of been homogenized out of us. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just sort of gradually grown out of us, but we all have it in us. It's just a matter of like flexing that
Mm.
muscle.
Right, right. And so many people, yeah, decide, oh, I don't have the muscle for it, and there it goes.
Yeah.
And that's the story for the rest of their life, or until they come to a workshop like ours,
Yeah.
or
Or
another
others.
similar one, or others. It's not
Absolutely.
just us. Yeah, you made me think of, I'd love to share a quote here from Elizabeth Gilbert, one of my favorite authors, but from her book, Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear, because she talks about this very thing. And she says in it, are you considering becoming a creative person? Too late, you already are one. To even call somebody a quote creative person is almost laughably redundant. Creativity is the hallmark of our species. We have the senses for it. We have the curiosity for it. We have the opposable thumbs for it. We have the rhythm for it. We have the language and the excitement and the innate connection to divinity for it. If you're alive, you're a creative person. You and I and everyone you know are descended from tens of thousands of years of makers, decorators, tinkerers, storytellers, dancers, explorers, fiddlers, drummers, builders, growers, problem solvers, and embellishers. These are our common ancestors.
Ugh, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, when you think of it that way, it's like, oh, of course.
yeah.
Of course, it's in our blood, it's in our DNA, it's in our very existence, our divinity, our connection to the universe. And we put it in this little tiny box and call it art or call it masterpieces or whatever, you know? It's like, no, it is life. It is every decision we make, every problem that we solve.
You're right. Like as you were talking, I'm like, holy crap. In a way, we do put our creativity in a box, either by labeling what we think it should be, or just literally saying, oh, I don't have time for that. Boom, close the lid. There we go.
Right.
Like, I don't have
Right.
time to be creative. I have too much other things to do in my life. Because I've heard that one
Right.
too.
Oh yeah, like it requires some big commitment that then you have to stay locked into, that it couldn't be a 5 minutes
Right.
of doodling or of daydreaming or of making up a story on the spot, or of singing in the shower, or you name it. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's, you just made me think, because I also I have a new friend here in Kansas City. Just met an author, Becky Blades, who I just finished her book last night. I'm really not going to be mentioning any of their books today, probably, but her book Start More Than You Can Finish
Hmm.
is about just that. It's about that we all can flex that muscle of starting, and just because you start something doesn't mean you have to finish it. It's about entering that creative exploration, that curiosity.
Ooh, and I love that. I may have to buy that because not only, starting, I think even like she's, I guess, saying is like starting is the biggest part because we have that fear of either not
Yes.
finishing or not doing it to the standard that we would like, having it not look the way we want or present the way we want or whatever. And so we have that fear.
Right.
But
The
to just
fear that
start,
blocks. She calls it being a startist, which I love. Like an artist, but a startist.
I love it.
And but yes, it's like, and we see this all the time in workshops, of course, and I see it in my own work. It's the starting can be the hardest part. It's the fear of the blank page, the fear of the void. All the voices are the loudest at that moment. What if I mess it up? What if I don't finish? What if it's judged? But when we can move through that, the most difficult part, in the first few moments, it's like we enter the creative flow. Then the process takes over. The voices get quieter, and the inner knowing, the intuition really can come through.
Flexing that muscle,
Yeah.
getting used to using that muscle, the creative muscle.
Yes. And it gets easier. Like, I was
Yes.
thinking about it for myself, even as I was reading this book. It's like, I can remember when it was excruciating to start to make any art. I mean, when I, had my eating disorder, and I was in avoidance, so much resistance. It was literally excruciating to start something creative, and comparing it to now, where every day of my life is creative. And it's not just about painting. I
Right.
mean, it's about, I will break out into song. I will grab my drum, my djembe drum. I will, make up ideas, or brainstorm with my partner. Like, it's just, it's a continual flow of vitality, of expression. Like, that's what we're here for. It's like we're playing. Even as adults, we are playing, we are creating our lives day by day by every decision that we make. I mean, how exciting is that?
I know. Absolutely. And I know most people, if they're listening to this, you're not watching it unless you're one of the community members. I had a moment of blissing out. Like as you were talking, I'm just like, yes, that is where our magic is. And when we start to get used to using it, it flows through every part of the day to
Yeah.
some degree.
Yes. Yes, it does. And we start to notice things more. We start to really see the moments of awe that are all around us. We start to notice the colors, variations of the sky, and the ripples of the water, and like those little things, the little insects crawling around, or it's like we start to see and perceive things that it's like, oh, wow, like, this is freaking life. I mean, this is
Yeah.
amazing. It's tragic and beautiful and sublime and blissful, and it's all of it. And it's like we expand our capacity to hold it all, to really hold it all.
Absolutely. And then along those lines, because
Mm.
you do begin to, sort of awaken to your creative spark, for me, I begin to notice how I really do have a place in everything. And I can be the
Mm.
change I want to see in the world. We've been
Mm.
talking a lot about that this season,
We
be
have.
the change because it's become apparent to me that I do have a role in what happens next simply by doing sort of what I've done in the studio for the last, I don't know, couple decades, right? Is I'll use an example of
Yes, please.
when, so last week I had two amazing conversations, public conversations. They're on through Awkwardly Zen, supported through Awkwardly Zen. It's an online meetup. And there are these spaces that are held and created for safety, for people to be able to speak from their hearts, sort of like what we're creating here. And just how important that is. And to be able to really grow and be healed from someone else's story, and then to add your piece to it, and then to all of that be held in this sacredness. It's like, okay, I want more of that in my life. I want to create a world where there's way more of that. So now I know, it's like I know what color to put on my palette to continue to paint that, and it's like community. I am creating community. I am creating sacred space, and it feeds
Mm,
me and it feeds other people. And that's creative too,
right.
you know?
Right. Right. I love that. That it's not you're not just making visual art, which you do, but you are literally creating community. That is a creative act. That is, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
like creating a business or creating change. I mean, there's so much that we can create that's not just a tangible product that we would then, sell or share with the world. I mean, yeah, creating community. I love that.
Yeah,
Love
I
it.
it's just become so apparent that things, and I'm speaking completely for me in my own situation, but I can I can get down about how things are in my life or how things look on the outside or whatever, but when I flex my creator muscle, I become more aware of the fact that, wait a second, no, I do have a part in this. And I feel like for me
Mm.
personally, that's why it's so important to talk about creativity, especially in this time that we're in right now.
Right, right. Because it can help counteract feelings of hopelessness.
Oh my God,
Like
yeah.
that that there's nothing we can do. Well, there are things we can do. And yes, we can create them. And you made me think of the quote that, what is it? That about worry, that worry is the misuse of imagination. I forget who said that, but like when we just steep in worry or despair, it's like we're not using that creative muscle of our imagination to imagine a better world and then to start taking steps toward it, like creating the action toward it.
Dude, you were like lighting up things everywhere with the things that you were saying today. Yes. What is imagine worry is just imagination. What is it?
Worry, I can't remember who said this now. Maybe we can put it in the notes, but worry is the misuse of our imagination.
Yes. As a person who has been a worrywart most of her life, that
Mm.
is so spot on. And so makes the difference between a shit day, oop, I said the S word, or a really magical day.
Right, right. And it points to something really important, which is because I think most of us probably get caught in worry at times. It points out something which is it is the imagination. It is a form of the imagination. People say they're not imaginative or they don't have a sense of imagination. Well, we all do. It's just how are we using it and how are we then using it to take steps toward creating what we want to create in the world.
Getting
Yeah.
intentional with our
Yes.
imagination. That's creativity.
Yes.
Yes, that well, it's
Yeah.
all creativity, right? It's all creative. It's
It
just like,
is. It
will
is,
you
but
be
how
a
are we using
part?
it?
Will you be a part of this, intentionally? Yes.
Right, right. Are you accepting everything as it is, or are you imagining something even better, something better,
Yeah.
are you imagining something different and then creating toward it? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And these are all really important things to ponder because I was thinking about this like, well, why, if creativity is inherent and we're all creative, why is it important? Why is creativity important? And I think this is the answer to that, that we are literally creating the world around us. We are creating the future in every moment, with every thought, with every action that we take, with with everything we create and add to the world. And also, so there's like the big scale of it, but also the personal level. It's been proven time and time again that creativity is essential for our personal happiness and well-being, as well as our collective happiness and well-being. But we know this from countless studies. Creative activities, even for fairly short periods of time, boosts those positive hormones in the brain, boosts all the feel good, all the feelings. I mean, there's just there's nothing we can say. There's nothing that would indicate that creativity is harmful or bad for your health or bad for the planet.
Absolutely. Like,
I mean, I
yes,
guess if you're creating wars or something, but it's again, it's about that intentionality of how are you
yes.
using your creative power?
I guess that's really it. When you boil it down, it's like, how are you using your creative power? Are
Yeah,
you even acknowledging it? Are you keeping it in a box and putting it away for a rainy day, like some good china for a special occasion, right? That may never come. Or are you intentionally using it to create what comes next, to create a world that you want to live in? That, I
right,
mean,
right.
that, and this is important. Like, these are, I believe, this is pretty important, creativity.
It is because if half of or who knows, I'm just throwing out a number. If half the population has their creative power, if the creative power of say half the population is lying dormant, then we are, if it's offline as you said earlier, then we are not accessing our potential as a collective, as a society, as a species. And we need that. We need the creative power of all people. We also need the perspectives of all people. And
Mm,
that's what art making, that's what song, music, literature, film, art, all of it, that's how we get glimpses into the experience of the other, as we were mentioning in our last episode on relating and authentic truths and when they collide. And but we need everyone's perspective and we need everyone's creative power
mm.
to co-create this world and what we're moving into, what the future will look like and what we want it to look like for everyone.
Absolutely. I was struck. I was watching a documentary last night about the music of San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, and there was just one blurb where they're talking about a lot of the creatives. I mean, it was insane what all the creatives sort of built there in Haight-Ashbury and around the area.
Yes.
But there was this radio station where the owner, I guess something happened, like the people, the jockeys and some of the other peak creatives there didn't like where management was going. And so they're like, okay. So they all left and they created a new radio station so that they could, I mean, it was just, it
Mm.
was, I don't know, it was inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's an example of that we don't have to accept things as they are. We don't have to accept corruption or oppression. We can together create what we want to see. And sometimes that means saying no to things. Sometimes that means moving on and starting over,
Hmm.
starting what we envision. Yeah.
With the blank page again.
With the blank page. Yes. Facing the blank page. What wants to happen? Yeah. And
Yeah.
what is ours to create? What is it that's wanting to express through you? Yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, juicy stuff. I
Yeah, I
love
love
it.
it. Well, should we get into
Yeah.
the tools before we've talked everyone's ear off, do you think?
Yes, let's move into some practical, some tools, some writing prompts. Do you have some prompts for us, Steph?
I do. I have one specifically, and then maybe another one I'll drop to. One is what wants to be born through me? And
Mm,
then what have I said no, or have I said no to anything that wanted to be created through me? So even just a little
mm,
inkling of something that you've just shut down with a no because you don't know how to do it, you couldn't do it well enough, you didn't have time, just to be
mm,
aware of it.
mm, mm. I love that because those thoughts can flutter in at any moment,
Oh
like when
yeah.
we're just driving down the highway or in the shower, and it's like, "Ooh, what if, what if I started a line of blah blah, fill in the blank?" And that's like, "Oh, I can't do that. Too much. I don't know how."
Yeah.
Like
Done. Shut
capturing
down.
those little, yeah, shut it down. It's like, wait, capture those little what ifs.
Yeah.
Mm, beautiful.
And along those
Mhm.
lines, Jenny, I think you have something that will tie in nicely with that. What's your exercise?
Yeah, I know we chatted earlier. So for the creative expression activity today, I really wanted to kind of step back and rather than using process arts, come up with something very general and inviting. And so my activity, my suggestion is to start a creativity journal or notebook or something to start collecting your inspiration and your ideas in. And I'll say part of this was inspired again by the book I was reading yesterday, Becky's book, but it made me realize that I have those journals myself and those folders and whatnot. And it's like creating space for even if we're not yet taking action or moving into things, it's like creating a space to start collecting the things that inspire you.
Mm.
So that can be quotes, that can be magazine clippings, that can be images, it can be collage paper, it can be like anything in the world, maybe a flattened leaf or an acorn or I don't know, just, a fortune from a fortune cookie. Anything that has like grabbed your attention, like start to bring it together into a space where it can kind of, I think of it as like the simmering pot where things kind of um, cook together and boil. And it's like, um, they can combine in new and interesting ways, in ways that we may not imagine. And it may not be right away. It could be that something that you've started collecting 5 or 10 years ago, it's starting to take shape. It's starting to draw you in and want to become something. So whatever that looks like for you to create, to start that journal or notebook.
You're really creating a palette of then like it's almost like a palette of color, only it's a palette of ideas that you can then draw from. Yeah,
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, because sometimes it is difficult to start from nothing, to start from blankness. And I know in my studio, I have things all around me that inspire me. I think you do too, Steph.
Hmm.
And it's like those things that really capture us. And it's like, oh, yes, just starting to bring those in and see what happens.
Mm, I love it. God, I could have more. I could probably talk another 30 minutes on this. Just it's just such a
Yeah.
it's just so close to my heart, which is why we do this,
This is why we do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, this has been a good conversation. I know it's been, yeah, we could go on and on. We do, of course, invite, if this has sparked anything for you, listener, like we invite you into our Soul Nectar community, where we really get to explore and play with this and have those times of creation together. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful community that's forming.
yeah, I would love to see you there, listener. It would be amazing to sort of interact in that way. And if that's not
Yeah.
maybe what you're into, how about joining our Instagram page, following that, or even checking out creativenectarstudio.com. Just
Yes.
to say hello, drop us a line, like let us know how you're doing. We really do want to know.
Yeah, yeah. how is creativity showing up for you? Where are
Yeah.
your blocks and challenges? And yeah, yeah. Or just say hi.
Yeah. Just say hi.
Oh, all right.
Great.
Well, yeah, I'm grateful as always. Thank you, Steph, for this conversation. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. And yeah, we'll see. We won't see you, but until next time.
Until next time, everybody.
Bye.